The nature of us, with insufficient dharma and spiritual provisions, a wisdom life will be scrawny. So insufficient dharma are what we learned. Spiritual provision is very much in our practice. Wisdom life will then be scrawny. With incomplete blessings and wisdom, lacking conditions of appearance will be haggard and downcast. Incomplete blessings and wisdom, blessings come from the cultivation of virtues. Therefore, lacking condition arises from past cultivation, giving to spiritual rewards in this lifetime. So that manifests as condition, then our appearance will be haggard and downcast, should that be inadequate. Muck is a metaphor for delusions of views and thinking. Obviously, the dirt that we have, and the dust of dirt and ignorance, and which is what I often use the word encrustation and obscuration in our life. So seeing the obvious, we must carefully consider the subtlety of the concealed truth. And subtlety of concealed truth is obviously an interesting nature and true suchness, which is then covered by all this encrustation, and how the Buddha's encouraged to turn towards the great, that we can then remove the encrustation that we have built up over innumerable lifetimes in the past. So how much can we absorb in order to nourish the wisdom life? How much can we learn? So that will also depend on us, how development of our mind and how much we practice. So if our spiritual provisions are insufficient, our wisdom life will be scrawny and therefore very lean as a result of that, and which is referring to in this in the metaphor of this particular chapter. So in this life, there's some insufficient blessings and virtues, then we lack the conditions. So we also need to understand the condition that we face in our life, in our practice. Why is it that some conditions are more favorable to others than us? And obviously then those are based on past life practices. But even when we face trying condition in this lifetime can be overcome. And that would depend on how much we can absorb and nourish our wisdom life. So we need to understand what it means by lacking of conditions. Is it arising from the past or is it from the present? So the Buddha had to use gradual teachings in accord with capabilities that hopefully a day will come when our minds will also be one with the universe and as a state of the supreme enlightenment. So in the parable, later on another day, looking through the window, he saw the figure of his son, the distant scrawny, haggard and downcast, filthy with impurities of mud, muck, dust, and dirt. So later on that, another day refers to the 4 periods of teaching, and which you all know what these 4 periods are. And so obviously then arrived to the 5th period, which is where the great Dharma vehicle is then delivered. Some masters say life is like a play from the time of birth right until the time of death. And this is the illusoriness life, which is a play. So we wrote the script of a life to act on stage, and this script was written in our past life. So in this life, we are writing our next script. So the provisional truth of illusoriness were all understood by the 2 vehicle practitioners, all understood meaning. You understand this illusoriness that giving rise, obviously, from the delusion, creating karmic causes. And so they eradicate those afflictions, but they clung under these principles. What we need to do is to advance further to walk among the masses, to practice not just in emptiness, but true emptiness in wondrous existence. So in summary, the Buddha Dharma is wondrously profound. Few words can contain great principles. So very often the teachings are very profound, but because the words are inadequate to describe what the truth is, so we get inspired by the combination of certain words. So we must safeguard our minds to be aware of everyone and everything around us, and that's the condition that we face all the time. The problem is when these conditions arises, they interact with our six roots, and that give rise to skandhas. So if we must learn, we must not forget that the people in front, behind, left, and right. So this brings the truth, goodness, and beauty of spiritual practice center, which is the spiritual provisions that we have in our practice, and be mindful in our practice. So if we are not mindful, even in a spiritual cultivation, that even when we do work, do we be very bashful when we do work? And sometimes unknowingly we do, because even when we do spiritual work, sometimes our habitual tendencies will arise. So we got to be very mindful of people in front, behind, left, and right. And it's a phenomenon that we face in people, matters, and objects. So the quality that is most true is our reverence. Our reverence is about reverence we show to the people and to nature, and obviously to our teachers and our masters and our gurus. So, but reverence comes from within. This is from our pure nature, and that's why I may have explained to you all when I gave my 3 bows. My first bow always represents reverence. My second bow represents devotion, and my third bow represents my gratitude. So utmost goodness arises when people in front, back, left are in harmony, and that's what we should be mindfully cultivating. So in contemplation, ordinary minds find the world a charming place, complete with samsaric delights. Obviously, sometimes samsara is very painful, but a lot of people get attached to the pleasures of samsara. So they're very charming. But then the problem is, so are tricksters. Tricksters are very charming too. So life is so because of ignorance, and we tend to gravitate with what our inner habitual tendencies is, because we are very much aligned to what pleases our desire and our emotion. So when the roots of virtues and wisdom are deeply grown from the past, one will be awakened. And I just mentioned earlier from the initial verse, and it depends on how deeply we have grown in the past too. Therefore, be always aware of your inner being and mindful of your outer being. And that's where the consciousness of awareness and mindfulness has to be practiced as you interact with the externalities or conditions of people behind, back, front, left, and right. So on relationship, speak only when your words are better than the silence. Do not say more than what others need to know. The rest is idle chatter. Smile and silence are the most two powerful words. A smile resolves most problems, and silence avoids most problems. So if you observe deeply in stillness of the mind, everything then is a teaching. Okay, that's I have. Thank you.
So, BrotherChin, I don't have to talk much. I just have to smile at you. And I think I can transfer all my messages to you. And then so much, BrotherChin, for the wonderful, wonderful sharing. Yeah.